You're listening to program notes for the Florida Orchestra's Huff Family Foundation Masterworks series. I'm Andy Tchaikovsky, social media manager of the Florida Orchestra, classically trained percussionist, and the host of this podcast. In this episode, I will be talking about Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1 and William Walton's Belshazzar's Feast, so you can dive deeper into the music anytime, anywhere. These audio program notes are authored by Kurt Loft, a local writer who has written about the arts in the Tampa Bay area for more than 40 years. You can find his full transcriptions at floridaorchestra.org. All right, let's dive in. Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky, 1840 to 1893. Piano Concerto No. 1 in B-flat, Opus 23. Performance duration approximately 32 minutes. Utterly worthless, absolutely unplayable. The piece as a whole is bad, trivial, vulgar. It's hard to imagine these words describing Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto, one of the most performed works in the classical canon. But Nikolai Rubinstein, the famed pianist to whom Tchaikovsky dedicated the piece, didn't hold back his dislike for what today remains at center stage in concert halls worldwide. It got off to an inauspicious start in the winter of 1874. Tchaikovsky knew his piano skills were limited, so he sought the advice of Rubinstein, a close friend, expecting encouragement. Instead, he was broadsided and stormed from the room, quickly replacing Rubinstein's name with the pianist and conductor, Hans von Bülow. As we know, the criticism was short-sighted. Following its world premiere in Boston on October 25, 1875, the concerto became an overnight sensation. And in 1958 was the first piece of classical music to sell 1 million records. That was the year a young Texan named Van Cliburn soared to stardom by taking first prize at the inaugural International Tchaikovsky Piano Competition in Moscow. In a stunning Cold War coup, the 23-year-old delivered a knockout punch of the namesake composer's Piano Concerto No. 1, which he performed for the rest of his life. He told the Tampa Tribune before a 2006 appearance with TFO in the work, "It's fresh every time you hear it or study it. When I practice, it's always with the music. When I follow the pages, invariably, I will find something new. That's the test of a masterpiece." For some listeners, this evergreen concerto is overplayed and overwrought. For others, it never fails to thrill with its embraceable tunes and striking rhythmic flourish. No, Tchaikovsky wasn't subtle, and the supercharged, pulsating sentiment of the music pleases both the ear and the box office. The concerto opens with one of the most celebrated passages in music, a series of massive brass chords that usher in the piano in thundering octaves. After the majestic introduction, a wave of melody envelops the listener, and the pianist engages in some brilliant passage work that is surprisingly discarded and never developed. The entire first movement is more of a freestyle rhapsody than in the traditional sonata form that guides most 19th century concertos. While an athletic cadenza secures the opening movement, the lyrical andantino ushers in the organic sound of the solo flute and plucked strings, a model of poise. The melody comes from the French song,
Il faut s'amuser, danser et rire,
a favorite of Tchaikovsky's only fiancée. The finale, marked fast with fire, burst forward as a rousing Cossack dance, a thrilling apotheosis that demands the most of soloist and orchestra, and compels an audience to jump to its feet. TFO music director Michael Francis says, "It's the ultimate romantic era piano concerto, and certainly iconic with that grand opening melody. It might be overplayed, but just wonderful music, as Tchaikovsky had such a gift for melody, and you feel a deep sense of him in this music." William Walton, 1902 to 1983, Belshazzar's Feast, performance duration approximately 36 minutes. The music of English composer William Walton is seldom heard in American concert halls today, and performances of his viola concerto or First Symphony can be considered rare treats by any standard. He may be better known, albeit indirectly, through his 28 film scores, including As You Like It, 1936, Hamlet, 1948, and Richard III, 1955. The self-deprecating Walton did little to promote himself, and when asked why her husband wrote so little in the last decades of his life, his wife answered, "William doesn't really like music that much." To which Walton replied, I don't. It irritates me to madness, especially my own. But Walton was proud of what would be the summa among his nearly 75 creations. The brilliant cantata Belshazzar's Feast for orchestra, chorus, and baritone soloist, first performed at the Leeds Festival in 1931. This dramatization of the Book of Daniel and Psalms 137 depicts the sacrilege of the eponymous Babylonian king, whose death brings freedom for the Jews. A supreme achievement for voices, the cantata also makes imaginative use of jazzy rhythms and massed brass, giving the music a distinctive edge. When Walton learned that the Berlioz Requiem with its huge orchestra was being performed at the same Leeds festival, he asked the conductor, Thomas Beecham, if he could borrow additional brass players for his cantata. The maestro responded, "You might as well use everything available. You'll never hear the piece again." Beecham's sarcasm was short-sighted, as Belshazzar's Feast became a repertoire staple in 1958, when a first recording spread the word of something intense and arresting, not unlike Karl Orff's Carmina Burana. The piece describes Isaiah's prophecy of the Jews as captives in Babylon and their sorrowful lament, the glories of a great city, the debauchery of King Belshazzar's great feast, and the disrespect for the Jews' holy vessels. A procession of the gods, the writing on the wall, the murder of the king, and a celebration of the divided city through a series of concluding Alleluias. The music is cast in one continuous movement, but in sections that include 1. Thus spake Isaiah. 2. If I forget thee. 3. Babylon was a great city. 4. In Babylon Belshazzar the king. 5. Praise ye the God of gold. 6. Thus in Babylon the mighty city. 7. And in that same hour. 8. Then sing aloud to God our strength. 9. The trumpeters and pipers. 10. Then sing aloud to God our strength. TFO music director Michael Francis said, Belshazzar's Feast is incredibly dramatic, with a massive choir and orchestra. It's a huge epic piece that will bring the house down. This season, we wanted to give you a few key things to listen for in each Masterworks program. Here's what to keep an ear out for in this program. In his Piano Concerto No. 1, Tchaikovsky hints at Russian folk tunes throughout the concerto, including a lively Cossack dance in the finale. In William Walton's Belshazzar's Feast, note how both orchestra and chorus perform as virtuoso instruments, full of striking gestures and edgy rhythms that make this music a sonic powerhouse. Thank you for listening to Sound Waves for the Florida Orchestra. Enjoy the concert.